Welcome to the Why Not podcast with me, Chrissy Hawkins. In a world where everybody always asks you why, I'm here to ask why not. I'm going to do that by breaking down the mindsets of guests and my own to figure out what makes people say, why not? Okay, good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are, wherever, whenever you are listening to this podcast. Today's episode, I'm talking all about why you can't reach your goal. And I talk really a lot about how consistency or different things that we are expecting doesn't really work, and you don't give yourself enough time to actually get the results. And yeah, so you know what? I'm going to let you guys either sit back and relax and walk and listen, and the podcast will explain itself. So I hope you enjoy this week's episode on why I can't get to my goal, or why can't I get to the weight I want. Which way am I going to call it? Hello. Welcome back to Why Not. So today I'm going to talk about the reason you can't get your goal, if that's a fat loss goal, or it generally is. There is a couple of things that lead to this, and I know I've spoken before about talking about how sometimes we don't even have a goal. So like, you can't really reach a goal if you don't have a specific one. So if you don't have like say for instance, a dress that you want to fit into, or a weight you want to get to, or a certain like leanness or whatever, like if you don't have a specific goal, you're not going to get it. It's going to be very hard to get there. But the other thing that we really lack when it comes to things like this is consistency. And consistency is really going to be the difference between whether or not you get where you want to be. So I know we've all been there. We decide we want to lose weight, we go all gung-ho, we sign up for the program, we go on a diet, we go hell for leather, and then at the end of the week or the end of the month, January is a really good time to take it. By basically everyone joins the gym in January. They expect to go 5-6 days a week and not eat, and then by the end of January they've all dropped off because they're bollocksed and they're hungry and they're fed up with a boring diet where they can't have any fun. And January is miserable enough, so why would they want to continue that into February? Now, how many people do this all the time? You normally see another influx again coming up to summer, because summer holidays, September is like second January in the gyms. You see it all again, everyone's back. Part of that's due, like, over summer we don't have the kids, we have to look after them, and then when it comes back to winter, they're all back in school and there's more of a routine. But it's not always just that. It's like, one of the real things I notice is like, you want this to happen so quickly, and you want it to happen like, yesterday if possible. You feel like you should get that in 4 weeks. You do a 4-week transformation and you should be golden. And when you don't get that in 4 weeks, you stop, which is a little bit ridiculous when you think about it, because if you are carrying extra body fat, it didn't come on in 4 weeks. It came on over time, or 10-day drop a dress size. It's not very plausible. You can drop a dress size maybe in 4 to 6 weeks, but like, these things we see in the media is never going to happen, and not healthy and sustainably anyway. You'll probably have the dress size back on in 2 weeks. But another thing that we really seem to do is we confuse fat and weight as one thing. So I have literally had clients being like, oh my god, I gained half a pound since yesterday, or what happens if I don't lose this way? I can't eat rice because I gained weight from eating rice. That was a conversation I had with someone before. And the thing is, your weight will fluctuate through the day. I'm sure you've heard this before, and yet you're standing on the scales and feeling shit when your weight goes up. But actually, someone I follow, Ben Carpenter, did a thing the other day, and he literally weighed himself first thing in the morning, weighed himself after he went to the toilet, and weighed himself after drinking a litre or two of water or something. He drank a lot of water in the time, and he fluctuated by 3 pounds each time. So this shows you like how quickly your weight fluctuates, and that's over the course of 20 minutes, I'd say, recording in the morning. Now think about that, like you wake up in the morning, obviously, well, you're going to weigh your least, unless you need to go to the toilet. After you go to the toilet, you will weigh your least, and then you're going to have food, and food has weight and mass, and that's now going to go into your stomach, and that's going to add to your weight. The more food you eat through the day, now you will be digesting some of it and it'll get smaller, but that's going to add to your weight. So if you weigh yourself first thing in the morning and last thing at night, you're going to have two different weights. So of course you've gained weight in that time, but that's not your constant. Another thing with girls, we gain weight, we hold water weight on our time of the month. This happens. You can see it in your body every month. I don't know about you guys, but I have done it. Like, and I've been like, oh my god, why do I look so bloated? Why do I look terrible? And you're beating yourself up about it, and then you look at yourself a week later when it's past and your stomach's flat again, or you look less heavy, and you could actually weigh and see the difference. So we need to stop obsessing about weight and weight targets. Now, there is nothing wrong with having certain weight targets. Make sure they're realistic. Like, there's no point saying you want to be, say, 50 kilos if you're like 5'10". I'm sure you can be, but you'll be very, very thin and gaunt. Like, I personally, I'm 5'2" and I'm 58 kilos, so I I weigh more than that at my size. People always think I weigh less than I do, but I have a lot of muscle mass, and I look better now in my eyes than I did when I was 50 kilos. So I don't know. That's obviously up to you. If you do want to look like that, that's okay. Or if you feel like that's the way you look, that's okay. And if you are someone who looks like that naturally, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, don't don't put so much pressure on the weight. Have maybe a goal that you want to look like, or maybe, sometimes body goals can be handy. Now, the thing is with that, like, we're so obsessed on weight and your what you want to lose in a certain amount of time. This brings you into an obsessive mode like that. Like I said, someone saying they ate a bit of rice, or you think you can't eat certain foods, so or you'll gain weight. And there's so many foods that have been demonized. There's so many different foods. I actually commented on a post recently on TikTok, and had someone screenshot my comment and reply with a video of fat burning foods. Heads up, fat burning foods don't exist. All the foods that were put up there were foods that would make you feel fuller for longer and less likely to eat more food. And this is why you may burn fat, because if you eat a lot of, say, for instance, something that's high sugar like chocolate or like bag crisps, they're high calorie, but they're not going to keep you full, and you're more likely to eat more, which means you're more likely to eat more calories and then therefore not be able to lose fat. Whereas if you ate, say, for instance, a yogurt and some granola with the same amount of calories, you're going to be fuller for longer. And this is what the difference was. Now, whoever the smart heart was, I made a response video anyway. They turned their ability to respond off, so I have to screen record it. But we're misled to think like, oh yeah, I've heard that before, like this food burns fat. It doesn't, okay? Definitely doesn't. Anyone who tells you otherwise is trying to sell you something. So just remember that if you do think that you can get some fat burner or some super duper food that's gonna like fix it, there's so many things that have been up there, like, it's the difference it's gonna make to your metabolism is minute. Like, focusing on these little things, like what you can do to speed up fat burning, when really all you could do a lot more by getting a bit more active and going for a few walks and upping your steps. Like, that's going to do more than a caffeine pill or a super detox juice thing that gives you the shits for 3 days. And when we're in this mindset of trying to get it done so quickly and get it done yesterday or get it done in a short amount of time, we fall for all these gimmicks because they're selling us the dream that we want. And this is the problem. we need to step back and realize, as I said, it didn't come on over the course of a couple of weeks. It's come on over time. It could be months. So the best way to do it and keep it off is to take a couple of months to do it. Now, you may not want to hear that because, I don't know, there's something coming up, but would you rather do it now and take the time rather than rebound and end up in the same issue? And as I said, this is where the consistency comes in. The people you see who stay with long term fat loss are people who've been consistent. They haven't yo yoed. Now, normal fluctuations happen. Sometimes things go off a little bit and fluctuations happen, but they've stayed consistent. They stayed with the basics. They kept training, they kept walking or whatever, and they kept eating wholesome food. And they will tell you as well. Like, I talked to Steve Griffin on the podcast. He said he did all those diets before. This is someone who's lost 120 pounds. So he now is in very good shape, like, and he trains and he walks and he does really basic things, and that's what got him there. The shake diets got him nowhere. The Slim World, whatever, he didn't, I don't know if he did Slim World. Anyway, they didn't get him anywhere. So this is why this is what he's telling you, like what got him there in the end. And the problem with doing it this way is it's really boring and it takes time and it takes effort, and the new shiny objects look so much better, but in the long term they don't actually work, because if the new shiny object worked, you wouldn't be going to the next new shiny object. So we have to remember that as well. And when we end up on these next new shiny object diet where you are so hyper focused on not being able to eat stuff and having to make these training sessions, the thing is, when it goes wrong, that's when it's really easy for it to go out the window, because this is the thing, life happens, right? So there will be days where it's not perfect, and even if you're on a short 8, maybe 6, 8 week transformation, it may go south one day. You may not have a perfect week, you may have something that just goes wrong, and that's fine. But what's more likely now is you're just going to go, fuck it, just throw it out the window, eat everything around you, give up, and then you stop as well. Like, you mightn't even complete this challenge because, well, I ruined it. What's the point? And this is where it becomes dangerous. And not dangerous, but we have these repeated cycles of taking on challenges, maybe not getting them done, and you never get results out of them, but you never finish them. But it's probably the challenger's fault, not you. You need to take the responsibility here that you've probably gone too gung ho from the start, and that's why now you believe that these don't work from you. But the thing is, like, yeah, they probably don't work from you because it's too extreme, but also, if you've not finished it, how do you know it works? Now, that's probably going to annoy some people, but I do not agree with the extreme diets. But if you've never completed one, how do you know it doesn't work? And, like, being aware that nothing in life is perfect, and being able to account for other things, like, say for instance, if you really really want to, you can plan for that night out, or you can plan for that going away. If you want to stay within a certain calorie, or you want to make sure you don't go off the deep end, you can plan for that. Honestly, it's really not necessary unless you are maybe training for, say, a photo shoot or an event where you have to a run or something like that, or obviously you're a bodybuilder. Like, these are the kind of times when planning and not throwing caution to the wind can come in handy. So I just want to say that. But however, if you are solely just trying to lose a bit of body fat, you don't have to. You can enjoy that day and reset the next day and everything will be normal, and you've not destroyed all your progress, because like that, like I say, like, it's not going to come off in 4 days or 4 weeks. Like, it didn't take that long to come on. It's not going to take that. It's not going to be ruined by one day. And we seem to think if we like let one carb touch our lips, that's it. It's out. We're done. It's not. That's not the issue. The issue is that we do this, and then we go off the deep end, and then you spend several days going off the deep end, and that's when, not that it makes a difference in the long term, but you can go from having a really calorie controlled week to going off the deep end to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you end up through that being in a calorie surplus for the week. And that's why you're not going to get the weight loss or the fat loss that you're looking for, because at the end of every week, you end up, you'd say you drop 200-300 calories a day. If you go through that over the weekend, you're no longer in a deficit. And this is the problem when you are in this all or nothing mentality, or if you're dieting so hard and you're so hungry by the end of the week that you're like, oh, I'll just have a little bit. It's a treat day. I'll be bold today, but it'll be fine. It's like, it's a cheat day, cheat meal. And then you just eat a crazy amount that puts you over the calories that you've taken away for the week. So at the end of the day, you stayed on the same calories for the week. You didn't actually be in a deficit. It's a big issue that a lot of people come on. There's the weekend. There's no structure. They just go wild. Maybe because they've been over structuring during the week, and then they wonder why there's no change happening. And there is a really good way to plan for this, right? Okay. So I'm going to put an example of what I'm doing now, because I'm in the middle of an 8-week challenge that I've decided to go with. I'm not taking it as seriously as some people because I know a little bit better about how my body works and the calories. Okay. And I'm seeing people commenting constantly, being like obsessing over little things, like having a slice of tomato. That's not going to be the issue. It's the binge you end up having because you didn't have that slice of tomato. Anyway, side rant. This is not my That's not my part to talk. I'm not a coach in that. Anyway, I'm going away for a couple of weeks next week. Actually, when this goes out, I'll be away. And I have two options. My options are stick to the plan or enjoy myself. And I can plan around going away. I have to train 5 days a week, so I plan around that. Easiest part here, planning. Instead of taking 2 days off the weekend, I'm going to train on Sunday. I'm going to train Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I'm away Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I leave on Tuesday, train before I go. Wednesday, Thursday are the rest days. One day is a complete rest day. One day I'm supposed to do cardio. I will probably do some walking on Thursday, but I'm not going to go mad if I don't get the prescribed cardio. And then Friday, Saturday, I train and I take Sunday off because I'll start Monday to Friday for the following week. Easy. That's the easiest part. I blocked it off. I planned it. I'm going to write it down. I'm going to plan out to do some of the cardio before I go on Tuesday, so it's done. So I have the option to wander around and relax. And then I don't need to worry about it. Okay? Class. Brilliant. That's sorted. I have a plan. I have it written down. Now, when it comes to food, I'm not supposed to be drinking on this challenge. Well, I'm on holidays. I'm going to enjoy it. But I'm going to be smart about what I drink. I'm just going to drink gin and slimline tonic. I like gin anyway. Slimline tonic, lowest calorie option. Okay? Again, if I want, I might have a cocktail. I'll see. I might not. It depends on my humour. However, I have that planned in my head. I already know I'm going to drink these because they're a lower calorie option and I'm supposed to be sticking to a certain calorie plan. But I know already that that's not going to happen. I know I'm going to go over 100%. I already know that's going to happen. And I'm not upset about it. We've breakfast in the hotel when we're away. I can plan to have 2 nice high protein breakfasts. Perfect. Sorted. Lunch, let's see what happens when we're going. And dinner, we're going to have dinner out. And again, I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I have decided and I'm happy with that result. And that is my outcome. What I could do is go way stricter if I wanted to. I could plan, I could bring food with me, heat that up and have that and know exactly what my calories are. I could not drink and I could get out and do my cardio. But I don't care. I want to enjoy it. The 2 days I know in my head, the 2 days that I'm away are not going to make a massive difference to the 8 weeks of training that I'm doing. And the only thing I'm going to do by lying to myself and doing other words is going to stress me out. And I'm going to end up going off the deep end. So I planned in advance that I'm going to go off the deep end. I've given not off the deep end, but I've given myself permission to eat outside while I'm supposed to be because, as I said, this is my decision. I want to enjoy while I'm away and I don't want it to be ruling my whole life. And that is what I've put my plan in action. I have it all there, and now I know. What I could do, I said I could go harder, but basically, the issue we have sometimes is we go into these things and we're obsessed because we're on a diet and we haven't planned either way, and we've decided that kinda I might be okay, but I might not, or you mightn't decide at all, or you've convinced yourself you're going to be good, knowing full well you're not, and that's not going to happen. And this is where the issue comes. You just convince yourself that you're going to be good, even though you know you're not and you want to enjoy it. And then you decide, oh, you say, yeah, fine, I'll have a little bit there, or I'll do this, or not. And then you just go off the deep end. You're like, well, I've done it now, I've ruined it now, and I'll just keep going. And you're just like beating yourself up the whole time because you told yourself you were going to be good. And then you didn't listen to yourself and you weren't true to your word. And now you're like, oh, well, I've ruined everything. I may as well just continue ruining everything because I'm just a ruiner. And this is the problem. And then we end up beating ourselves up and feeling guilty for not being as disciplined or as, you know, as good as we could have been, or like we're a failure now, but you're not. You're just human. And I think what really needs to be done in these scenarios is set it up from the get-go. What are you doing? If you're saying good, great, bring your food with you. Don't be saying I'm going to say calories and come unprepared, because you know you're not going to do it. If you're deciding I'm going to enjoy myself and I'm going to go this way, again, perfectly fine, but be at peace with that. You can't come home and weigh yourself and then starve yourself the next couple of days because you were weak and you broke. Whatever decision you make, you have to make yourself accountable for it. You are the one who made the decision, and either you decided to break that decision or you decided to stick with that decision. And yes, if you show up to something with your own food and decline what's on offer, you can always tell the people in advance, but they are going to be mad. They're going to say stuff about you. They're going to be like, oh, why are you doing that? Why are you on a diet or whatever? There's always something. They're like, oh, are you on some mad diet? There'll be comments, and you have to be ready for that. So if you are deciding to do that, you say, yeah, well, this is my plan. This is what I'm doing. I want to achieve this, and this is my goal. And just deflect them and say, look, that's fine. This is just the way it is at the moment. It's going to be like this until I decide otherwise, etc., whatever you want. But again, it's your decision. You have to own the decision. Whichever way you go, you need to own that decision and take responsibility for that decision. There's no point making one decision, not following through, and then looking for sympathy the next day. Okay? It doesn't matter. In my case, I'm like, right, I'm going to do a little bit of medium, kind of keeping some planning true, because as I said, in the challenge I'm in, I kind of want to see how good I can get in this. But at the end of the day, spending time away for a couple of days with Peter is more important to me than calorie counting. And I can schedule my training around it and I can get what I need done and I can do whatever else either side, and that is fine. And that's okay with me, and I'm happy with that. And I will be happy with that. And I'm not going to change that now because I have that down. I'm going to write it down. I'm going to write it down in my diary that this is how it's going to go. And I've vocalized it now as well. So you'll probably see it all over my Instagram stories later when I'm on the gym, because it's coming out on Tuesday. Well, I'll be down first day. And with that, just so you know, that's what's happening. If you listen to this later, it'll probably be archive stories. But if you listen to this today, it comes out, or the week comes out, let you know I'm there and enjoying myself. And I've told you I'm enjoying myself. Now, one other thing that I really want to talk about, and I will be covering this a little bit more in depth with a guest in the following podcast. However, be very, very careful of who you're taking advice from, and I really want to say that, and I mean this in the best way possible. But I know with the whole way things influencers have gone, and how they're really big now, it's very easy for them to start peddling a workout plan or telling you this is the diet you should follow because it worked for them, and they will sell you a generic plan because it worked for them, but you are not them. You could be completely different body type, different shape, different whatever. So how do you know that's going to work for you? You can't be on the same calories as someone that you're a completely different shape to. It won't work well for you. And you may not be able to do the same level of intensity training as someone because they could be training for longer than you. They could have been a trainer for, or they could have been training for 10 years. You could be just the first time picking up a dumbbell today. So don't expect to be able to keep up the same intensity with them. So you need to be very, very careful with that. The advice some people give out, it's very just specific to themselves, and they they just think, oh, this works for me, it'll work for everybody, I'm going to package it up and sell it. Remember, just because someone has tens of thousands of followers or 100,000 followers doesn't mean they're giving you sound advice. There's plenty of people out there who aren't even qualified PTs who are selling programs off the back of a nice ass or a six pack. You don't want to be taking their advice unless they have a team of coaches with them. That's totally fine too. The coaches can help them program. But if this is a person who is just selling you stuff because they've got followers, because they're an influencer, be very, very wary of that. Now, I want to say as well, there's plenty of coaches out there who have tens of thousands of followers who are really, really good as well. And there's also plenty of coaches out there who may not have that many followers, but they are incredibly knowledgeable. So this is why it's very, very, it's a minefield, especially if you're not used to training, or you kind of want to start a fitness journey. It can be quite minefield trying to navigate the information. But just maybe look for people who are talking about sustainable, like long-term goals, not short-term goals. Consistency. I'm bringing that back up again. Let's have that word consistency. These are the people we want to be listening to. We don't want to be listening to people who are promising you to drop weight in a really extreme amount of time, who are saying like their program is what they did and it worked for them, and they're showing you just their transformations or whatever of themselves. These are the people we need to avoid. There's a bit of red flags, extreme dieting, anything that's going to cut out a full macronutrient group. That can be another thing that is really like red flaggy for the normal human being. Like, unless you are medically told you need to cut out anything, you don't need to cut out anything. This is the thing. There's a lot of extreme things where people are saying like you can't eat this, you can't eat that, and if they're telling you can't eat something, and unless you have a diagnosed reason, I see it probably a red flag that you don't need to listen to them. And by the way, I have no issue with like any of these like protein variations on different recipes. So like, protein cakes or protein whatever, anything that's a scoop of protein that's just gonna up your protein. That's okay. That's no issue. Like, at the end of the day, we all know that a protein muffin is not going to be as enjoyable as a real cake. Once you're aware of that and you're happy to proceed with that, that's fine. You enjoy that protein cake. I don't think there's anything wrong with pushing them, or I don't think there's anything wrong with making recipes that make your food give you like a lower calorie option of the food you might normally enjoy that is higher protein. Just be ready that it's not going to be that enjoyable. Well, it will. Sorry, it can be enjoyable, but it's not going to taste like what you normally would have. So anyone who says taste just the same is lying to you. They can be really enjoyable, but they're just not the same. I just want to put that little side note. That was a little side rant. And yeah, I think with that, I am going to leave you guys because I think that's covered pretty much everything. Reasons why you're not getting your goal. A lot of it comes back to wanting to get it quicker than you can, not staying consistent, and just jumping on and off these challenges, or not that there's anything wrong with challenges, but like jumping on and off different diets and workout plans and never sticking to one long enough to find out what works for you is really, really important, because you need time to know what actually works for you and what can help you. And if you're constantly changing because you didn't get results as quick as you think you should, you're never going to know what works for you. So next time you're trying to take on one of these, my best advice to you is take something that's going to be slower paced. Don't try and do everything all at once. Try not to do it in January. There's no reason you can't start now. Don't write everything off till Christmas. You can start making changes before Christmas, and